Hey, what's going on, guys? Brian Kelly here from Zombie Guitar. Here in this video I want to talk about the relationship between melody and harmony. So all that melody is what a lead singer is doing in a live band situation. And then all that harmony is what the rest of the band is doing underneath the singer. So that's all it is. So you have your melody, you have your harmony. The two go together to produce nice sounding music. So this whole relationship can be achieved by two guitar players too. You could have one guitar player playing the melody line, the lead, and then the other guitar player playing the harmony, which would be the rhythm. So the two again would go together to produce nice sounding music. So I'm going to demonstrate this concept by using the song Space Oddity by David Bowie. It's a phenomenal song, and I think it's a very good way to get this point across. Reason being is because this song is in the key of C major. It doesn't change keys at all, but it does use borrowed chords. So borrowed chords mean that it's all part of one key, but you're using other chords from other places that aren't in the key of C, but the song still works. The song sounds good. The reason for using these out-of-key chords is just to add interest to the music. So as this song is happening in the key of C and he's borrowing chords from these other places, he's singing over top of it the whole time. The melody line. So how is this melody line as sung by David Bowie connecting with the chord progression as played by the rest of the band, the harmony? That's what this is about. So let's get started. So the way that this works is you have your melody line, and your melody line is doing its thing. It's moving, and I refer to this as a path. So it's just a path of notes. So you also have your chord progression happening underneath it. So chord 1 moves to chord 2, moves to chord 3. That's the chord progression. That's the harmony underneath. I refer to each one of those chords as a destination. So as your melody line is on its path of moving notes, it's going to stop at specific destinations along the way. And those specific destinations are going to be notes that are found in the underlying chords of the chord progression. So as chord 1 changes to chord 2, which consists of some notes, the melody line is going to be doing its thing, and then it's also going to stop at a destination, which is going to be a specific note of chord 2. This change is going to happen at the same time, and that's how the melody line is going to reflect the underlying chords. So I talk about this all the time when I talk about chord tone targeting. I have lots and lots of lessons on chord tone targeting. I'll post links to some of those below. But this is essentially what David Bowie's doing. David Bowie is chord tone targeting with his voice. He's singing a melody line which is on a path, and then when chord 1 changes to chord 2, he's landing at a certain destination on his path such that that note is part of that chord. So this concept is, I could describe it the best I can using a guitar, but it's not going to be very obvious. I could try and sing it to you, but you're not going to, number one, I don't really have a great voice, but you're not going to really be able to visually see this connection. So I'm going to turn around, I'm going to use my piano. So I have my piano connected to my computer, and when I press a key on the piano, it shows you what note is playing. So I can play the harmony chords with my left hand, and I can play the melody line with my right hand, so you can see exactly what's going on here. All right, so as I said in the beginning, the song is in the key of C major, and it uses some out-of-key stuff. So on the piano, this is very, very easy to visualize because everything that's in the key of C major is going to be a white key, and everything that's not part of this key is going to be a black key. Your C major scale on the piano is just the white notes. So this is your note C here, playing the notes in order. This is your C major scale. You can do that in any octave you want. Any octave you want. Just playing white keys, that's your C major scale. So your in-key chords for the key of C major are only going to contain white keys. So your in-key chords for C major are going to be a C major chord. Your second chord is going to be a D minor chord. Your third chord is going to be an E minor chord. Your fourth chord is going to be F major. Fifth chord is G major. Sixth chord is A minor. Seventh chord is B diminished. And then your one chord is a C major again. So your in-key chords only contain white notes. So anything in the rhythm section, the harmony part, or the melody section that has black keys in it, that's instantly going to let you know, okay, that's something that's out of key right there. So As I go through this tutorial, you're going to see that I play these chords in various different ways. So on the piano, it's very, very common to play inversions, they're called. So rather than playing a C major like this, I may play a C major like this, or like this, or like this. So it's still the same 3 notes, and then I'll have the bass notes down low, or. So there's a bunch of different ways to play a C major chord. I'll have the notes written on the screen for each chord as we walk through the song, so you always know, okay, those are the notes that are part of that chord. But the important thing that I'm trying to get across is if it uses a white key, it's part of the key of C major. If it uses a black key, either in the chord part or the melody part, it's an out of key note. So keep that in mind as we go through this. So the song starts out with an F major 7 chord and an E minor 7 chord. Here's an F major 7. Here's an E minor 7. So both of those chords contain only white keys, meaning that they're both 100% part of the key. So the song starts out like this. Right there, that's where the song kicks in. So that chord right there, that was a C major chord. That's where the vocals kick in. That's where the melody line kicks in. This is where David Bowie starts chord tone targeting with his voice. So let's see what he does. Let's just look at the melody line first, and then we'll see about the chords. So the melody line is this. That's all the melody line is for the first part of the song. So it starts out by harmonizing. The harmony part is a C major chord and an E minor chord. C major. So I'm trying to really accentuate these. I wouldn't necessarily play this exactly like this if I was to just be playing not on camera, but I'm really trying to accentuate the fact that this is C major chord, E minor chord, so you can really see what's going on here. So you can see that both the C major chord, all white keys, that means it's all in key. E minor chord, all white keys, it's all in key. So the melody line is reflecting that. So it's going, as soon as it gets to this note, that's the note B. That's part of the E minor chord. So there's your E minor chord. One of the notes of the E minor chord is the note B. So it reflects that in the change. Goes on the C chord. E minor chord. So obvious reflection of the harmony right there. The next part of the song goes from, it's actually, the bass line would be an A to a G to a D. The actual chords that are being played are going to be an A minor chord to a C major chord to a D major chord. So you can see that the D major chord here it contains an out of key note. There's an F sharp in there, that's a black key, so that's not part of the key of C major. But the melody line still reflects that, but the melody line doesn't reflect that F sharp note. The melody line does this. So it's playing the note D from the D major chord, but it's being harmonized with an out of key chord. So that's one of the ways he's adding interest to the song. If you were to stay 100% in key, the in key chord would be the D minor chord. So that would be like this. So the D minor chord, even though that's an in-key chord, it doesn't really sound that good. That's why he chose to use the D major chord. Alright, so then we move on to the verse of the song. So let me just play the melody line first, and then I'll show you what chords is being played in the rhythm section. So the melody line alone is like this. So I have my sustain pedal on, so some of these notes are ringing out a little longer. But as you can see, all of those notes are still white keys. So the melody line is staying in key. But the rhythm section that he's using, he's throwing in an E major chord into this part, and he's throwing in an F minor chord into this part. So that's adding this interest to the harmony part of this, harmony melody combination, while still keeping you in the key of C. So the melody line is in the key of C major. The melody line is going to be reflecting the chord changes, but he's choosing to use some more interesting chords that aren't just part of the key of C. He's adding interest to the song by using this E major chord and F minor chord. So let's see how he does that. So starting out, it's... All right, so seems like a lot's going on there, but hopefully it was kind of clear because I'm trying to play it in a manner that clearly differentiates what the harmony part's doing and what the melody part is doing. So the melody part is staying just using white keys, but then the harmony part is using some other chords that contain some out-of-key notes, specifically this note. So an E minor chord would be this. That would be in the key of C. An E major chord is this. So you can call that an A flat. Here's the note A. One less than A is an A flat. You can also call that a G sharp. Here's the note G. So one higher than G is a G sharp. So there's that note. But the melody line is targeting this note here. So the melody line is targeting a note that's still part of the key, but the harmony part is using a different chord. So instead of choosing this chord, they chose this chord. So it just adds another dynamic to the song. So, and then it goes to the F major chord. So it's, alright, so when it changes to the F major chord, it's landing on the note C. An F major chord is F, A, and C. So the melody line is still kind of, it's doing its thing, it's moving, but it's the destinations that we're concerned with. It's when chord 1 changes to chord 2, changes to chord 3. Right at the moment of the change is when the chord tone targeting occurs. So the melody line, it's, playing other notes, but right at the change, right when the note changes, that's when it happens. So and you can hear that when it doesn't land on a chord tone, for instance, it just landed on that note D, it creates some kind of tension. So, and then when it finally gets to that chord tone, the tension is released. So, so it wants to move to something. So even when he doesn't land on it, when he doesn't land on the chord tone right when the chord tone occurs, it still has that pull towards a chord tone because the chord tone is the release of the tension, and then the other surrounding notes they want to go to that chord tone. So hopefully I'm making sense with all this. So then the next part of the song is the planet Earth is blue and there's nothing I can do part. So that uses a B flat chord. It's an out of key chord, and that is because this note right here is the out of key note. So the melody line reflects the chord changes, but the melody line doesn't use any out of key notes, but the chord changes do use that one note. So let's look at both parts separately. So the melody line is this. And then the chords are B flat to A minor to G major to F major. So the only chord there that uses an out of key note is that B flat chord. So B flat has the notes B flat, D, and F in it, and that's that one note that's out of key. But it's B flat, D, and F. The melody line reflects this note here, which is part of the key of C major. It's a white key. So it goes like this. I'll try and play it a little bit differently. Perfect example of chord tone targeting. Right on the B flat chord, right on the A minor chord, right on the G major chord, right on the F major chord. Perfect chord tone targeting examples. So it starts out on an F major 7, and then an E minor 7. So that's from the beginning of the song, all in key, F major 7 in key, E minor 7. And then it jumps to an A major chord, so that's like this. So that's an out of key chord because it contains a black note. Then it goes to a C major chord in key, D major, F sharp, that's an out of key note, and then to an E major. And then the E major is out of key too. So that's basically the solo section leading back into the verse again. So the solo section is really interesting, and that's kind of what I want to talk about here. So it uses a lot of out-of-key chords. So I kind of feel like it's maybe jumping to the key of A major temporarily. So in the key of A major, these are your chords on the circle of fifths, your A major, D major, and E major are your 1, 4, and 5 chords in this key, and it uses all of those chords. But it ends this whole solo section building up on that E major chord, which then leads you back into the verse, which is, again, in the key of C major. So this is just a very tasteful, very intelligent way of basically using out-of-key stuff, temporarily shifting the tonal center, but then bringing you back by using familiar stuff that's been previously used in the song. So you could say the solo section is in the key of C major with a bunch of borrowed chords or a bunch of out-of-key chords, or you could say it's a temporary shift to the key of A major, then bringing you back to the original key of C major. Whatever you want to say, I think both would be legit. I guess it's a matter of interpretation. Alright, so as usual, this was running a little bit longer than expected, so we're going to cut this off here. But hopefully you're able to see this whole relationship between melody and harmony. I'd really love using the piano for things like this because I can try to demonstrate this stuff on the guitar, but it's just not as visually clear as it is on the piano. So some concepts are just better left to explain on the piano. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to ask. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.